Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Kevin Wilds, and Eric Mangini, and we thank you all for spending your Memorial Day weekend or part of it with us. We've got a great show for you over the course of the next hour. The real GOAT in yesterday's celebrity golf match, the only big quarterback who seems to want AB to play on his team, and the last quarterback standing in the offseason of NFL musical chairs, one Cameron J. Newton. That's where we start this morning. Cam Newton, now the only active quarterback, gentlemen, who opened last season as a starter and who doesn't have a job right now. The only other quarterback was Joe Flacco, and the Jets signed him over the weekend to back up Sam Darnold. Nick, how do you think the former #1 overall pick, the former MVP, and the current 31-year-old free agent should feel about the Flacco signing?
I think Cam should feel about the Flacco signing almost the exact same way that Coach felt when he heard Phillip Rivers next year was going to go coach a high school team in Alabama. Shouldn't feel snubbed, shouldn't feel badly, should feel nothing at all, because that's a job he wasn't going to take anyway. Cam Newton is not signing up to go play for $1 million to back up a guy he's better than in Sam Darnold, especially a guy who we know the Jets have immense investment in, so they're not going to move off of, and they shouldn't, by the way, move off of. So I had an odd weekend. The weather wasn't great here in New York City. We're obviously still quarantined, so it allowed me to do some things. One thing I did was I rewatched the 1993 Western Conference Finals. And by the way, Charles Barkley, oh my God, he was unbelievable in games 5 and 7. Another thing I did was I started an NBA project we're working on this show. But the last thing I did was I watched the 2017 playoff game, actually January of 2018, between the Saints and the Panthers. The last playoff game we saw Cam Newton play in, when Cam Newton was throwing to a who's who of wide receivers named Kalen Clay, Devin Funchess, and Brenton Burson. And in that playoff game, Cam Newton was leading the Panthers back through a perfect pass with less than 30 seconds left into the front corner of the end zone to win the game. And Devin Funchess, the best wide receiver on his team, could not get his head turned around. The very next year, with his new throwing motion, can we show it? Here's how Cam Newton got that year going, with one of the best starts to a season we've seen in recent times. 60% completions, 2 touchdowns, 11 games in a row he put up those numbers. Only Tom Brady and only Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes have done it even 9. Only Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning have done it more than Cam. Look at, that's the list. That was not Cam's MVP year. That was the last time he was healthy. And then that year, until his shoulder went out on him, he had like a 104 rating, 26 total touchdowns, 7 picks. He was playing some of his best football of his life. Then his shoulder goes out on him. He breaks his foot in the preseason, and we haven't seen him since. And so, Wilds, no, Cam shouldn't be upset Joe Flacco got a backup or third-string quarterback job, because Cam Newton should be waiting for a starting quarterback job. At least that's what his play the last time we saw him healthy says.
I agree, Nick. And just a quick note, since there's not a ton of live sports, a lot of people have been betting on talk shows and what will be mentioned. So a big day in Vegas if you had the 1993 Western Conference Finals coming up in a Cam Newton question from Nick Wright. So congratulations to everyone that had money on that. Big win for you guys. The interesting thing about the starting roles, Nick, is I asked Dusty to pull up. I said, hey, how many teams had a plan that worked throughout the season? If we can throw up the graphic, half of the teams changed their starting quarterback, not permanently, but had someone else start from who they had planned on week 1. And they basically fall into 4 categories. Injury, right? Poor play. The future is now, where it's like the Giants, like, hey, let's just go. Or the future is the past, which is like, the future's not now, let's go back to our guy. Little interesting note, the Jags and the Redskins hit for the cycle, all 4. So the question to you, Coach, is, I know we're saying that, like, Cam doesn't want the Jets job. He should want to waltz right into a starting job. But from that graphic, it seems to me that half of those jobs could become starting jobs. Not all of them. Obviously, he's not going to go and take, Patrick Mahomes' job. But when you look at what happened in New Orleans, hey, I'm the backup and now I'm a starter for somewhere else. Doesn't Cam just want to get on a team?
Well, first of all, Nick, your weekend is a little too wild for me. You better slow down. You're going to burn out. And it would be fantastic if you could look at past video and suddenly be transported into that player that was in that video. But that's unfortunately not how it works. He's only started or I think started 10 games over the last 2 years. And the injury question is real. And not just the injury question, but he talks about changing his throwing motion and how he's committed to doing that. Whether or not that can really happen is also a question mark. And whether that can happen when he's under pressure and stress, that's an even bigger question mark, because you usually default to what you know. But to your question, Kevin, should he wait? Yeah, at this point, to sign for $1.5 million like Flacco did with $4 million in incentives, it's not a great deal. People are going to get to training camp and realize that the quarterback that they have isn't the quarterback that they hope to have, or someone's going to get injured, and Cam's going to get an opportunity that's dramatically different than the opportunity that's available now. So keep working out, keep improving your throwing motion, keep working on the things that you want to work on, and an opportunity will come along that's better than what's available right now.
All right, Nick, Coach does have a point. I mean, we're in strange, odd times now where players can't be brought in to work out. Maybe the injury, the health issue is a big question mark for teams. But put all that aside, what happens now? How do you see this all playing out?
Yeah, I think Cam waits until there is a better option than the ones that currently present themselves. And I'm going to push back a bit on a few things. One is the throwing motion. He retooled his throwing motion going into the 2018 season. And that year, he was completing 70% of his passes, was having the best year since his MVP season until he got hurt. And he started, by the way, 14 games that year. It's just at the very end, they shut it down. In the last month and a half, he wasn't effective because of the shoulder. And then in the preseason, he got his foot broken. The question is, to me, not about the shoulder. His shoulder was fine in the preseason last year. It was he broke his foot, and you can't play this position, whether you can't play any position in the NFL, but certainly not quarterback, not because Cam's a runner, but because you need your feet to set yourself in the pocket with a broken foot. So we're in an era where quarterbacks are talking about playing until 40, and Cam is being seemingly forgotten about at age 31. And so if I were advising him, the benefit of not being on a team is you are not tied to a certain situation, because there will be inevitable injuries, because there will be inevitable underachievement. You can wait for that, as opposed to, like, we look at the Saints situation and say it worked out great for Teddy Bridgewater, and it did. But if Brian Hoyer last year, for example, was looking for a similar opportunity, didn't work out for him at all. He was behind an aging quarterback who didn't miss any time. The Chargers, even though Phillip Rivers played poorly, doesn't miss any time. And so I think it is incumbent upon Cam Wildes to wait and see what happens, and to see what the level of interest in him is once the world opens back up. So I don't think the Flacco thing should bother him. I do think the Bears trading for Foles, that would irk me. The Colts signing Phillip Rivers, if I'm Cam, I don't love that. But I think you have to wait and see where there is an opening, because Cam Newton is not a backup quarterback in 2020, Wildes.
So are we just taking the health off the board? Coach, everyone's like, well, we don't know if he's healthy. You know, it's Corona. We're quarantined. We can't get anybody checked out. And then Joe Flacco had neck surgery last month, and he's being signed. So is this injury thing a real thing, or is it more of just an excuse?
No, it's definitely a real thing. And every organization has different thresholds for evaluating injuries. And maybe the Jets were able to arrange something with Flacco where he was able to get the X-rays or the exams that they need him to get. But to Nick's point, to say that Cam Newton isn't a runner, well, I don't think anybody would agree with that. That's one of the things that Cam Newton does especially well. That's one of the things that makes him as dangerous as he is. So you've got that aspect of it. And the throwing motion part is whether you can maintain that motion as adversity continues to strike, as you go through tough times? Are you going to stay with the throwing motion that you've adopted, or are you going to go back to the motion that's made you successful year in and year out? And you don't have that answer with Cam. In addition, Cam is a star, whether we want to agree or admit that or not, he is. And he comes with a lot to him when you bring him into the building. And there has to be an element on his part of willing to be a backup, willing to accept that role. And if he's not willing, then stay unsigned and wait for that opportunity to go in and be the starter.
Yeah, if I said Cam's not a runner, obviously that's not what I meant. I'm not sure I said that. My point was, I think people were looking at the broken foot as if the particular reason that was bad for Cam is because he's a mobile quarterback. There is not a quarterback in the league that would be successful with the foot injury Cam had last year. The foot injury prevented him from being able to throw to a single side of the field because he couldn't plant his feet. That's the point I was making. But with Cam, it's always more than meets the eye, because Wildes is right. Other guys can get signed with questionable medical checks. Other guys can get signed despite being awful for 5 years, as Flacco was before the Broncos traded for him. With Cam, there's an additional level to this, which is he continues to be one of the most polarizing players in the league for reasons I don't totally understand, unless you are just adamant that he shouldn't have probably taken money at Auburn a decade ago. So there are at least a dozen fan bases right now who would be thrilled if they woke up tomorrow morning and their team had signed Cam Newton and they would roll the dice on the injury stuff. I'm very curious to see which team ends up doing it, Jenna. A healthy lifestyle should be easy, right? Eat veggies, drink green smoothies, exercise, get your heart rate up, and do yoga to bring your heart rate back down. Well, maybe not so easy, but there is something that helps improve everything, and you can literally do it with your eyes closed. It's sleep. Sleep Number knows what it takes to sleep your best. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed lets you choose your ideal firmness, comfort, and support on each side, your Sleep Number setting. It's the perfect solution for couples. These beds are so smart, they respond to your every move and automatically adjust to keep you sleeping comfortably all night. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, for a limited time during the Memorial Day sale, save $1,000 on the new Sleep Number Special Edition Smart Bed, a queen, now only $17.99. You'll only find Sleep Number at Sleep Number stores or by visiting www.sleepnumber.com.
Back here with Coach Mangini. Let's play a little drawing a blank. Coach, when is a round of golf in the pouring rain must-watch TV? When your foursome reads like a Hall of Fame ballot. Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson fell to Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods. In a nutshell, Brady, great at football, not as great at golf in the rain. Nick, TB12's performance yesterday was blank.
Now listen, I think a lot of people expect that I'm going to take a shot at Tom Brady here. That I'm going to, make the easy joke that he's now 0-1 without Belichick. Make the next level joke like the great radio host Damon Amendolara did, which was, how quickly did Julian Edelman start sewing him a new pair of pants once he saw they split? But I'm going to go a different way. I say it was humanizing. I think it was really great to see the greatest quarterback ever not only struggle, but get really frustrated, get angry. He had the one great moment of where he didn't even chip in, flew it in from the fairway right when Charles was talking trash to him. But you saw a side of Brady that we never get to see, really struggling and really irritated by it. And I get personally irritated by the guys who never golf and then pick up a club and they're just great at it. So to see Brady look like a lot of us would have looked out there, to me, was humanizing. I thought it was great. I do imagine, though, Julian sent him a new pair of pants, Coach.
Yeah, I'm really glad you didn't make any of those jokes because neither one of them were that funny. To me, this was more of a sign of things to come, and you saw what happened. He's playing in an unfamiliar place. He's playing with unfamiliar players, and there's a learning curve, and it's not very good early as you go through that learning curve, and then he gets better, and as he gets better, you see some of the brilliance that he has, and you see how he continues to improve. And look, they were close at the end, and if he was more familiar, he would have been even more productive.
So I went with technical roller coaster here, Jenna. I say technical roller coaster because I think it was a big loss for Technical Fabrics with his pants splitting. However, it was a win for Audio Tech with the idea. Oh, there we go. That's a classic. The Audio Tech was a big win to hear Brady be able to talk to Charles and have that interaction between the broadcasters and the players. I think if we could see more of that in sports with a fanless experience, I think it's going to be a big win.
All right, good stuff. On to New England now, where former Patriot Rob Ninkovich said Brian Hoyer will be their starter come week 1. Take a seat, Jarrett the Javelin Stidham. So, Nick, Brian, I haven't been assigned a nickname by Kevin Wildes yet, Hoyer, as the starting quarterback, should have Patriots fans feeling blank.
A bit of Cam consternation. Like, it's one thing if you're not going with Cam because you believe in your young quarterback, draft pick from last year, Jared the Javelin. It's another thing if you're going to dust off the old comfortable sweater, as Wildes would put it, of Brian Hoyer, which maybe once upon a time was a comfortable sweater, but now it's got some cigarette burns in it. You wonder, like, did a dog sleep on this? Like, do I really want to wear this? I can't wear it out of the house, can I? Especially not when you've got some gorgeous Versace outfit you could be wearing in Cam Newton, but you're like, a little too flashy for me. Not really my style. Might distract other people. Might be too good for what we're actually trying to do. So if they don't go with Jarrett, and they end up going the Brian Hoyer coach, I would say there's going to be a lot of Patriot fans feeling a little Cam consternation.
Yeah, to me, this is a function of being nostalgic. And I think the old comfortable sweater is in Tampa Bay. They gave that away. And Brian Hoyer isn't really in that same category. This is more like trying on, an older brother's clothes or maybe some clothes you got from somebody else, and the fans, as much as Kevin wants to sit back and say, I'm comfortable with this decision, I'm all in on whoever ends up starting at quarterback, they're all going to be singing the blues and missing Tom pretty badly pretty quickly.
Well, I'm comfortable with this decision. I'm all in on whoever Bill Belichick wants to choose for the quarterback. Here's the thing, though. I doubt it's going to happen. In 2019, we already saw this. Jarrett the Javelin threw 90 passes. Brian Hoyer threw 22. The thing that I'm really concerned about, and why my answer is Fanatics.com, is the people at Fanatics. This is why I don't think it's happening. You go to Fanatics, you can't find a Brian Hoyer Patriots jersey. The only Hoyer memorabilia I have available is Browns and Texans. So, Coach, I know you dig into the X's and O's of it, but I look for some of the soft data, like what's Fanatics printing up. As soon as I see the Patriots on Fanatics.com, Hoyer the Destroyer, I'm not super mad at that. I didn't come up with that. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Not
the Roman Coliseum thing is odd. It's not bad. I'll take that one.
I think it should be called Hoyer the Voyeur. He's watched more football than he's played.
Oh, Hoyer the Voyeur. Oh, that's not bad either. The Voyeur Destroyer. Just put them together. NFL.com analyst Bucky Brooks released his top 5 tight ends. George Kittle, how about this, coming in at number 1, followed by Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, Jared Cook, Darren Waller. Nick, 2 things. 1, they left off your guy Jason Witten. 2, they got Kittle over Kelce. George Kittle being named the best tight end in the NFL, my friend, is blank, Nick.
Yeah, listen, it's a matter of taste. I'm going to say this is a a Beyonce-Rihanna situation. Both amazing humanitarians, both amazing musicians and performers, both absolutely beautiful women. So you can't be wrong if you say this one's my favorite or that one's my favorite. Now, I'm sure Coach is going to talk about all the virtues of being a great blocker. I prefer Kittle. I prefer Super Bowl champions. That's just me. I prefer the winners. So I think that Kelsey's the guy. I think Kelsey, I should have said, pardon me. And so, but you're not wrong. These are the two best tight ends in football, and the gap between them and Ertz is much, much larger than the gap between either one of them and each other, Coach.
Yeah, this is crazy. I am going to talk about being a complete player. I know this is going to be totally out of the box. To me, this is understandable, because are you looking for a tight end in the sense that he can block and go out and be a receiver and be a threat in the passing game, or are you looking for a receiving tight end? Some teams will sign blocking tight end, but if you want the complete player, then Kittle has the edge, and he's shown the ability to consistently win at the point of attack, and that is important. The idea that you don't have to change the game plan if you want to run the football is extremely important if you're trying to call plays and do something besides just throw the ball.
Okay, do not adjust your televisions. And again, for everybody in Vegas who is betting, now we have Nick Wright, king of take integrity, saying, hey, one or two, doesn't matter. They're both good. They're equally as good, number one or number two. No reason to get super fired up about it. They're both good, one or two. George Kittle being named best tight end in the NFL is the first things first bounce. We had Kittle on the show last month. Now he's number one. Harvick came on the show, won at Darlington. Hollywood Brown came on the show last week, and he won his Madden Bowl game. And Jenna, that's why I've been advocating for Nick's barber to come on the show tomorrow. Big win for everybody.
That's true. Touche, Nick.
That's good.
Ending with the biggest news of the weekend. After a 39-year hiatus, Eli Manning has finally joined Twitter. And it didn't take long for Tom Brady to jump in with some trash talk, tweeting, "Welcome, Eli. In typical fashion, you never showed up until the fourth quarter anyway." Boom! Roasted, as they say in our newsroom. To me, literally all the time. Nick, Eli Manning joining Twitter is blank.
Wildly profitable. Listen, here's the deal for Eli. He's made more money playing NFL football than any player in the history of the league, even more than his brother. Brady and Breeze might pass him at some point, but right now he's at the top of the mountain. But Eli's always been a guy who likes to have a bunch of revenue streams. His jersey and merchandising revenue streams seem to be caught up with the authorities, so that went away. So now it looks like he's got a sponsorship, a little Twitter sponsorship, because every once in a while it was like great golf shot, and every other tweet was like, you know what I love? Frank's Red Hot. So it's already paying dividends. We're mentioning it on the show. Eli, keep cashing them checks, as Wild's friend Jalen Rose would say. Coach, I'd imagine this is wildly profitable for Eli Manning, and hopefully, unlike some of his other side endeavors, it doesn't get caught up in the court system.
Yeah, look, Tom probably really wishes Eli didn't show up in the fourth quarter. This to me is positive for the Giants fan. It's a whole new world in Giants land in terms of what's going to be coming out of that building, and the reaction to the media and the way that guys answer questions and the head coach answers questions. So to have this comic relief from such a funny guy as Eli, I think is going to be really uplifting to the Giants. I did learn a lot about hot sauce as well going to his Twitter feed, so that was exciting.
All right. Jenna, I think if Eli is writing these tweets, and I think there's a lot of tweet ghostwriters out there, but if Eli is writing these tweets, we know he's like sneaky funny. I think, and he doesn't want to do it, but regardless, I think Eli could be a great NFL broadcaster. We know he's got the rings. We know he's got the experience. If you team him with someone crazy enthusiastic, maybe like a Pat McAfee, that would work. That would work. The team would work. And also, if you like Frank's Red Hot.
If you like Frank's Red Hot. The ghost tweeter. I like that. I like that theory.
A healthy lifestyle should be easy, right? Eat veggies, drink green smoothies, exercise, get your heart rate up, and do yoga to bring your heart rate back down. Well, maybe not so easy, but there is something that helps improve everything, and you can literally do it with your eyes closed. It's sleep. Sleep Number knows what it takes to sleep your best. The Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed lets you choose your ideal firmness, comfort, and support on each side, your Sleep Number setting. It's the perfect solution for couples. These beds are so smart, they respond to your every move and automatically adjust to keep you sleeping comfortably all night. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now, for a limited time during the Memorial Day sale, save $1,000 on the new Sleep Number Special Edition Smart Bed, a queen, now only $17.99. You'll only find Sleep Number at Sleep Number stores or by visiting www.sleepnumber.com.
Back here, first things first, with Coach Mangini. We're talking Cowboys. They could be adding another All-Pro to their roster. Jamal Adams reportedly wants to be traded if the Jets don't give him a contract extension. His preference? How about his hometown, Dallas Cowboys? Nick, what do you think? Would adding Jamal Adams make the Dallas Cowboys favorites to win the NFC?
Well, as they are presently constituted, I got them at 11-5 and competing for a bye. I don't think there is a truly great team in the conference right now. I think the two best teams in football, the Chiefs and the Ravens, are both in the AFC. And you look at the Cowboys, what is, in my mind, their single biggest position of weakness? It's the back end of the defense. They lost Byron Jones. It's the only spot on either side of the ball they don't have an all-pro caliber player, whether it's offensive line, wide receiver, running back, defensive line, linebackers. They've got all pros or guys who have that ability everywhere except for in the back end. So it would be the perfect fit for a team that I already believe could win the conference. They're not my pick to win the conference, but adding Jamal Adams might be enough to put them over the top. It would also be Wild's an ultimate all-in move. They already have one of the three highest paid at the following positions: wide receiver, running back, guard, defensive end, inside linebacker. Their quarterback appears to be next on the list. And if you trade a first-round pick and something else for Jamal Adams, it's so you could then immediately make him the highest paid safety in NFL history. So you would be constructing a roster that is absolutely as top-heavy as we've ever seen. No middle class of players, and then a bunch of minimum-ish salary guys. It would be a risky gambit, but if you're not worried about future you, if you're just worried about today you, absolutely, you would make this move, maybe becomes the favorites in the NFC, certainly become the favorites in the NFC East by a decent margin, and have the best chance you've had at a Super Bowl in a quarter century, Wilds.
So I like the Carpe Diem aspect if they make the move. But there was a curious tweet that Charles Robinson put out. And, Coach, I wanted your opinion on it. And if I was the Cowboys, I would look at this and say, now we're out. We're out. So if we put the tweet up, the price for Adams may be more complicated than what was reported by Michael Irvin. The first and third round pick is correct, but last year's trade deadline mess involving Adams and the Cowboys left the Jets feeling burned. That could linger into the price point this time around. So, Coach, my question to you, and this is weird, have you ever experienced a trade scenario where a trade to one team is X and the trade to another team is X plus Y? So your demands are different, even though you want different things back according to the team which your guy is going to. Yeah,
that can definitely be part of the equation, and some of that can be a function of, is it in the AFC or the NFC? Are you going to have to compete against this player? Are you worried about competing against the player that you're moving on from? What type of relationship do you have with the organization? Now, you don't want to get it to the point where you're not trading or you're asking for too much because of some sort of grudge. And I would imagine New York's got to look at this and figure out whether or not they want the player on the team. And he's in his third year. He already wants a new contract. There's been issues, in terms of chemistry and and prospects for the future. You got to figure out, do you want him on your team? But in addition to that, you got to figure out whether you want to send the message that guys are willing or are able to shoot their way off the team. And that sets a dangerous precedent, too, that in your third year, you can demand a trade and the team is willing to accommodate you. So there's a lot of things at play here.
Nick, I want to ask you about the Cowboys for a second. How much of their potential do you think depends on Dak? Here's a team that has a new coach, new attitude. Every poll out there seems to have them in the top 10, maybe in the top 5. And yet the team is still at this impasse with their quarterback, and it seems like his teammates want him to get signed. Do you think that posed some sort of, negative attention going into this season? And could that be detrimental to them?
Well, the only way the Dak situation truly impacts this season would be if he doesn't play, and he's going to play. I am as confident in this as anything I've ever said on television. Dak Prescott is not going to refuse to report once the regular season begins because they franchise tag him. Not when the team has attempted to sign him to a deal and he just wants a higher above the market deal. It's not like the Cowboys haven't shown faith in Dak Prescott. So I don't think playing under the specter of the franchise tag is going to negatively affect his play. You could say he'll feel better about things if he has a long-term deal, but I think that's negligible. But I want to go back to Coach on something because I guess this is something he and I just see the world differently on. You're allowed to ask for a new deal after 3 years. You're not allowed to ask for one according to the CBA after year 1 or 2 as a first-round pick, but after year 3, you are. And if anyone deserves it, it's a guy who, within his first 3 years, has become the best player in the league at his position. Zeke got one after 3 years for similar reasons. We saw J.J. Watt get one after 3 years for similar reasons. Aaron Donald tried. He had to wait an additional year. I don't think it's out of bounds, Coach, for a player of Jamal Adams' caliber to say, you drafted me in the top 10, I've lived up to the expectations, I want my contract extension. That to me, that's totally fair game, Coach.
You're drafted 6th overall, so you're getting compensated at a high level for the 3 years of production that you've had. And as a drafted guy in the first round, the team actually has an option for a 5th year. So you've got 2 years left on your contract, not just 1 year left on your contract. And it's not like it's been a marriage that's that all the sides are excited about. There's been conflict. There's been disruptiveness. I don't imagine the team is that excited to reward behavior like that, because it's not just this contract, Nick. It's all the contracts in the future. It's whatever precedent you want to set organizationally as to this is how we will do business. And once you set that precedent, everybody's going to do business the way that you've established it.
I would just argue, I apologize. I guess the point I would make is the disruption came from the fact that they were shopping him last year. That Adam Gase got there and seemed to want to immediately get rid of the best players on their team. He wasn't asking for a new contract last year because he wasn't allowed to have a new contract last year. And you can have different rules for different players. Listen, if you're an all-pro within the first couple of years of your rookie deal, maybe we'll give you a new deal. If not, then play out your deal. Jenna, I know we're focused on the Cowboys, but on the Jamal Adams thing, I don't think he is some locker room problem. I think he plays for a team that doesn't appreciate the best player on their team, Jenna.
Wait, Coach, I want to go back to you just for a second. I touched briefly on a new coach, and we kind of sweep it aside. Every team right now obviously is going through their issues with trying to get a team together on Zoom and the chemistry and all of it. How tough is it for Mike McCarthy right now? There's a ton of potential on this team. These are very unique circumstances, and he really hasn't been able to get that whole team together. Plus, he's got this whole quarterback situation sort of hanging over his head until the July, whatever it is, mid-July tag deadline comes down.
Well, there's a lot of difficulty, and that's where you have to really take a step back and say, do we want to go all in year one of Mike McCarthy? Mike is going to have to learn about this team. He's going to have to understand what he truly has offensively, defensively, and on special teams and to make that decision to trade away future first-round draft pick, and whether it's a 1 and a 3 or whatever it is, and then also all the money that you have to commit to that player, that's a huge amount of resources that you don't have in the future. So you've got to feel very strongly that you're going to win and win big right now. A coach in his first year with experience should have an edge in that area, but the idea of mortgaging the future in year one, that's tough to swallow.
I'm still a little bit worried about Dak, Nick. And we've been talking about our countdown. I would like to debut. We're 1 day away from starting our countdown. So our countdown to the countdown is at 1 day. Tomorrow we'll start our official countdown, which is 50 days to the July 15th franchise tag. Nick, I know you're not nervous. I went from not worried at all. Oh, countdown to the countdown. Get ready, everybody. If you look at Dak over there, 35, the price keeps going up for year one of his deal. Tomorrow it'll be 36. We're going to Photoshop a finger on there. Nick, you're not worried that this is cast a specter over the entire season at all? Not even one little iota?
Well, the reason I'm not worried about it is because because there is that deadline. The negotiation will be over July 15th. It either happens or it doesn't. They are prohibited by league rule to give him a contract extension after July 15th. So there won't be any questions. There won't be any issues. It's just he either has a new deal or he doesn't. Now, I would say if the Cowboys opt to trade for Jamal Adams, to me, that would be potentially at least flirting with walking down the path of, do we just franchise Dak this year? Next year, do we trade him to recoup picks and reset our quarterback salaries so we can continue keeping this all-star team around whatever other quarterback we bring in or whatever quarterback we draft? Because I don't think it's tenable, to circle back to the point I made at the beginning, to have a top 2 highest paid in the league, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, guard, defensive end, inside linebacker, and safety. No other team has ever built a team like that. The Rams seemingly tried to a little bit and doubled down on it themselves by trading for Jalen Ramsey. They also gave their quarterback the deal, and now we're seeing they traded away Brandon Cooks. They got rid of Todd Gurley, so it's not sustainable long term, Jeff.
NASCAR's back, and it continues tonight on FS1 with some Xfinity Series racing. Then tomorrow night, catch the Gander Outdoor Truck Series. And on Wednesday, it is the NASCAR Cup Series live from Charlotte Motor Speedway beginning at 8 Eastern on FS1. Time now for some stories to start your morning. The NBA has reportedly asked teams to fill out a survey featuring several return-to-play options. Nick, we getting the NBA back this year?
Oh, we're getting the NBA back this year. I talked to an NBA executive Friday, and what he told me was he would be shocked at this point if the league doesn't resume. Of these options, though, I think there is a clear best option, which is do not send the non-playoff teams to the bubble site. You'd basically be doubling the number of people there, doubling the variables as far as if this could go awry. The way the standings are now, we know who the 1 seeds would be no matter how many more games you play. We know who the 8 seeds would be no matter how many more games you would play. You have no reason to send the 14 non-playoff teams to Orlando. Let the 16 playoff teams go. Find a way to get them ready, and then 4 7-game series, 4 rounds, regular rounds of the playoffs. That's the best way to do it. It's the way I think the NBA should do it. And Wilds, by 6 weeks from now, 7 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about the first round of the NBA playoffs, and I am so absolutely thrilled about it.
I'm excited, Nick. The one question that really caught my eye there was they asked the GMs if they wanted to reseed from 1 to 8. There's always been a little bit of momentum on hey, we should reseed these. And now that travel's not a factor, everybody's staying in Orlando. I assume it's going to stay east-west, but it'd be fascinating if this was the year we decided to reseed.
Yeah, Nick, I disagree. I think you need to have all the teams get a chance to play and then have a play-in for the playoffs. Why not change that up a little bit, add some energy to it, and give every market a chance to see their teams play a little bit?
I think there's a safety issue there with having less people, but
bad idea,
and also Nick thinks it's a terrible idea. On to some football. Sorry, Coach. Where Russell Wilson would reportedly love for the Seattle Seahawks to add wide receiver Antonio Brown. Coach, back to you. Think AB would be a good fit for Pete Carroll and Russ out there in Seattle?
I think from an ability standpoint, he's a good fit for any team he goes to, but he's been to two teams and it's been a disaster both places, and they're carrying a significant amount of dead money because of him. The idea that he's going to go there and things are going to work out better is a pretty gigantic leap of faith. And then you also don't know what's going to happen from a league discipline standpoint. Do I think he would help and be a dynamic player in that system? Yeah. Do I think it's worth the risk? Probably not.
I'm putting a moratorium on the show from Seattle adding anyone until we get our Marshawn Lynch news. We got teased with Marshawn Lynch news 2 weeks ago. Then I open up the doc. It says Russell Wilson wants, and this says Antonio Brown. What? I need constant Marshawn Lynch updates. Let's get this job done.
Well, Seattle did over the weekend add someone that they've always thought is far more important than giving Russell Wilson a great number one receiver, and that's another mediocre running back. Hey, Carlos Hyde, come on down. Just what you need to help Russell Wilson out. Another guy you can hand the ball off to for your inefficient offense. It's maddening. Here's where I'll push back on Coach a bit. Coach used the most important word, the dead money, words, I should say. The reason Antonio Brown was a disaster for Oakland and then New England was because of the contracts he signed that they are still now paying. He has been such a bad actor over the last year that if a team such as Seattle were to give him a try, there would be no guaranteed money attached. So if he acts a fool, you get rid of him and it costs them nothing. Antonio Brown wasn't some distraction for the Patriots last year. They signed him in week 2. They're undefeated through week 8. It was just that they are still paying the price for it. So to me, I think it would make a lot of sense for Seattle. Bring him in. If he acts badly, move on from him. It costs you nothing because his days of getting big guaranteed contracts are certainly over for now, Jenna, if not over forever.
All right, let's move on to the Kansas City Chiefs now. Last week, the Eagles proposed an onside kick alternative to the league, which many felt would benefit a high-flying offense. Quick, Jenna, name a high-flying offense. Okay, the Chiefs. That was good, you're right. Well, Andy Reid agreed, saying, quote, "We got a guy who can do 4th and 15. Coach, you think Patrick Mahomes would thrive if this new rule goes through?
Yeah, I do. And Kansas City is in 4th and 15 a lot, so they've had a chance to practice that. Or 3rd and 15 a lot because of those penalties that they get in early down. So they've had a real opportunity that other teams haven't had. So and then they've shown a real propensity to be able to convert those. So yeah, I do think it is an advantage for them.
So this is getting voted on Thursday, Nick. I've never been more in favor of a rule change in my entire life, even though it probably hurt the Patriots when Patrick Mahomes is getting first down after first down.
Well, it hurt the Patriots against any team in the league. If you guys might actually be starting Brian Hoyer. Brian Hoyer going to need four attempts to get to 15 yards. So it wouldn't be great for you guys in that regard. Listen, Chiefs fandom notwithstanding, this would be a great change. This would add excitement. This would make the game slightly safer because you remove the onside kick element from it. And it would keep people locked in, even if a team's down 17 with 5 minutes left, you feel like, well, you kind of maybe have a chance. So for all those reasons, I'm in favor of it. I'm going to demand all these tapes be burnt when they actually do pass this, and I have the worst gambling loss of my life because of it. But for the time being, I'm all for it, and I'd feel that way even if my team wasn't quarterbacked by the most talented quarterback in the history of football.
Nobody's burning tapes. On to the Bucs. Now they face New Orleans week 1. Tom Brady already starting the mind games, texting Saints head coach Sean Payton, "You're the favorites." Coach, is it normal for Brady and Payton to be texting back and forth?
Yeah, I think there's an element of that. Two guys who've been in the league a long time, have a relationship. I'm excited about this game just because it's the organization that's stuck with their older quarterback versus the quarterback who had to leave and go find a new opportunity. So I think it's an exciting opener.
Nick, I know you're the prognosticator of all prognosticators. I actually think this line is going to end up moving a little bit, maybe. I think that Tampa Bay is probably going to lose this game. A lot of new stuff, and I know we've been warming up on a few high schools, but that's not the continuity that the Saints have, so I have the Saints winning this game.
All right, so a number of things. One is I agree with you, Wilds. I also have the Saints winning this game and winning the division. Another thing, a kind of bad beat for Sean Payton, because, if Brady's text history is, if we use that as a reference, Sean Payton's phone might end up in some deposition, court proceeding, subpoena. Now he's got to deal with all that. And so Sean Payton's like, geez Louise, man, I wasn't trying to be a part of this. So that's a bad beat for him. But maybe Brady knows that, and so it's trying to get in his head early. What I do think is very interesting and one of the most exciting things in seriousness about this season is Brady and Breeze are 1-2 in every major statistical category for quarterbacks. And I think there's a chance for those records to go back and forth throughout the season, especially if one of them misses a bit of time because one of the categories Breeze has a significant lead in. So I just think it could be a really fascinating subplot. Not only these two quarterbacks, first ballot Hall of Famers, the greatest quarterback ever and the seventh greatest quarterback ever going for the division, but also the jostling back and forth of the record books, which we never get to see. It's Kareem and Wilt weren't playing at the same time for the scoring title. And so we don't get to see those things like that in sports very often. So I think that could be a fun part of this season. But hopefully for Sean Payton, Tom Brady texted his burner phone, Jen.
And all that gets started week 1, which is awesome. All right, on to some baseball. The Washington Nationals revealed their 2019 World Series rings, and of course, the team's theme song, Baby Shark, do, was incorporated. Nick, our resident Baby Shark expert, you like this move?
All right, I have to admit something to the audience. I don't know what Baby Shark is. I didn't understand it. When it was happening in real time in my head, it was Left Shark. But then I was told that that's like a different thing from the Super Bowl. And so I realized I just missed it. And it was such a zeitgeist, I was embarrassed to ever ask anyone about it. And I thought somehow I had been I was in the clear, Wilds. Like I didn't understand something. I don't like to admit when I don't understand things. And it was never going to come up again. And then this got put into the rundown this morning. I specifically asked the producers to take it out and didn't say why. They told me they haven't, and now I have to admit to the entire America, I don't understand this. I don't know what this is. I don't know what Jenna's doot thing was. I don't know if that was a song or when Jenna's singing, you can't really tell. So
okay, Nick.
I'm lost. I don't know what we're talking about.
I mean, the worst part about this for us will be you'll look it up on YouTube and say, hey, guys, catchy song. And you're going to start doing it in the meeting, so that's bad for us. Coach, I'm in favor of anything that gets more sharks into professional sports. Currently, there are more teams named after the weather than there are sharks, where shark is a cool mascot. So I am pro this Nationals ring.
Yeah, I agree, Nick. You don't like to admit when you don't understand things, so I'm 100% behind that. To me, this, like, whatever you want to put on your ring, you put on your ring. This Baby Shark thing is kind of like the sayings people put in their yearbook or whatever reference they have in the yearbook that seems really cool at the time, but 10 or 15 years from now, you're like, why do we do that? That's what it seems like to me.
Oh, yearbook quote. Mine was Thomas Jefferson. Your moment is here. Seize it. Oh, now I don't even remember it. Coach, what was your yearbook quote? Mine was something about Thomas Jefferson. Seize your moment, whether you're prepared for it or not. What was your yearbook quote, Coach? We got 8 seconds.
I don't remember mine. I want to hear Jenna's.
We gotta go. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. We'll see you tomorrow, everyone.